Thank you so much, Linda. I'm thrilled to be here with everybody. And when you shared that we would be having an intimate conversation today and a very real conversation that came from one of our sit downs together as friends, there's just so much in the experience of being an executive at enterprise-sized organizations, and then how things have changed in terms of media and marketing and so on, and then building our own businesses, and of course, creating a platform and opportunity for so many incredible women here and outside of here today, that we're supporting to see that success. So it's wonderful to be here with you, and I'm thrilled to be able to share. I always say that for me, the starting point of my life is that one, for whatever reason, I loved figure skating, and I trained at the Olympic Training Center in Canada. And if you want to have discipline, mental, physical, spiritual, in every way, a sport like that is absolutely a great opportunity for that. And I loved it passionately. I have no sob stories about that experience for me. Really, truly, it was incredible. And it was something my mother sat me down every year and said, you need to get yourself up at 4 in the morning. You need to make your own meals to take with you. You need to pack your own bags. And I had to have A's in school, and I had chores to deliver to my family. So that was a heavy discipline. 10 to 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, 50 weeks a year. It's a solid discipline training. I also, at the same time, grew up on a farm, and a farm teaches you no preciousness. So if you've heard me speak frequently, I'll share my story about growing up on a farm, and where I like to bring things down to where we can create actionable impact. And that for me is the bar of just be useful. We get all in our heads. There's a lot of noise, no matter what size the organization is. It can be one. You've got a lot of noise going on in your own head, right? We all have that. It can be a small organization all the way through to enterprise. There's a lot of noise to sort through. So I find setting the bar at useful, which is what I learned on the farm. You're either useful, you're dead, and that's really unfortunate. We do not like things dying on a farm, or you're useful dead. That means, you're actually able to be eaten or supporting something that's happening on the farm that way. Neither of those states are appealing to me. You always want to be useful, and then deliver that impact, deliver that success. So I would say with those experiences coming into the business world, it's created a framework for me where I'm very intentional, very purpose driven, and thrilled to see real results, real impact, real success. And that's what we get to do here every day.
I love that, Trish. Thank you. And thank you for giving us a little glimpse into your background. And, when I think of you, Trish, I do think of the very purposeful, intentional building of not only your personal brand, but the C-Suite Network brand. And a strong brand is memorable. It stands out. It tells your story, the digital world in which we live, we play, we work. Your brand is what distinguishes you. It sets you apart from other people. And so for you, Trish, why do you believe that developing a personal brand alongside a professional brand is so important? And how is a personal brand different from a reputation?
So interesting, Linda. We use the definition of brand to be a promise delivered. And I think that is just such a simple, easy way to understand all of those layers. Again, we can create a lot of noise. It can get very complex and very complicated. But the simplest thing is it's a promise delivered. Now, reputation, that is in some ways a tiny sliver. It contributes to your brand, certainly, but the brand is core. So anybody who's come to Celebrates on Friday, you'll hear me explain the principles of C-Suite Network. That's the framework for how we deliver the brand promise of accelerated success for our leaders. the executives, owners, investors, and influencers that are part of C-suite network. So those principles support that brand delivery. And as we look at brand and personal brand versus corporate brand, I'm very mindful personally to the authenticity of where I sit with that. That's absolutely critical to me. If I wasn't aligned on the principles of C-suite network and didn't feel authentically connected to those principles, relevancy, reach, reciprocity, respect, respect I added, because that is such a critical part of how we all come together across so many different parts of our personal and professional lives. So that is authentic and sits very close to who I am, what I do, what I deliver. And you can see, I'm on brand, C-suite network. I've got my black, I've got my red. I'm very much on brand for C-suite network, and I'm very mindful to how I show up as the CEO of C-suite network and in the context of Leadership Global. And Linda, you and I've had this conversation as a woman CEO of a full media network, which is unusual. That's not, we're a small organization. There are much larger female CEOs, but to be a woman CEO of an entire entity in our space, networking through all of the media platform and events and so on, that is quite extraordinary. So I'm very mindful to all of that. And then the other side of it, and this is where, we've created a platform to be able to support this. Me personally, as Tricia Benn, that there's a brand and consistency for me personally in terms of who I am, and I lend that to C-suite network, obviously, as the CEO of the community. So we do have, slightly different things that are my personal brand. If you look at C-suite success with Tricia Benn, my podcast, it's a little different. My website, a little different. And we're still, frankly, working through that. It's a challenging balancing act when you're building the business, then how you're treating your personal brand. And if I were to, true confessions, I, like most CEOs of scaling businesses, struggle with that because I'm going to put that personal piece after I take care of the business and our people and our payroll and our tools and, all of those things. So what I counsel, and I'm taking my own medicine as much as I possibly can, is what you're doing here, make it matter there as well. So it's repurposed. So whatever time you're spending delivering here, make sure that you're creating the value there. I can go through specific examples of that, Linda, if it's helpful.
Yeah, I think we're going to get to that, Trish. So I would love that. Thank you so much. And as you said, you are constantly projecting your brand, whether it's consciously or unconsciously, whether you're wearing your brand colors or you're simply acting in an authentic, genuine way that represents the principles and the practices and the values of your corporation, of your company, your business. And others act based on how they experience your brand, whether that's a positive experience, neutral, or negative. So it's so important to ensure that your reputation accurately reflects your true brand so that you can rise to your full potential. And for me, you said that reputation and brand are linked. They certainly are. In my mind, I feel like reputation it sort of precedes you. It's what you're known for. It's what others would say is your impact or your values, your principles. It's how other people react to you. Whereas your brand is what you're projecting. It's what you're aspiring to be. And as you suggested, it's the promise that you're offering. So your brand is really the promise that you're making in the marketplace, and your reputation is actually other people's reaction to that promise. Are you trustworthy? Are you reliable? Are you someone that has earned respect and admiration? And if there's any disconnect between your reputation, your personal brand, and your professional brand, that will absolutely be the first thing. And unfortunately, sometimes the only thing that people will get to know. So in my mind, you know, I think that making sure that your personal brand really resonates both to you and to the audience that you're trying to connect with is absolutely paramount. So, Trish, how do you make sure that your reputation is aligned with your personal brand and that your personal brand really resonates both for you authentically and genuinely, but also to the audience that you're trying to connect with?
You know, Linda, I think this is really core, and I think for us as women leaders, that much more challenging in terms of what we've been told, what we've been taught, whether subconsciously or consciously. I just changed my background, so I'm still on brand, but maybe I'm showing up a little more like this is my actual office. This is the office I sit in when I'm in New York City. I've got the C-suite up there. Maybe you're seeing me as a little more authentically from the perspective of this is my real room that I'm sitting. You know, eh, I've been very conscious of the position and influence and impact as we've been scaling, growing for me personally and for C-suite network, unbelievably. And my very conscious decision every day is to be real. We are scaling businesses. We are not here for fake fame. We are not here to sell people packages that won't see them succeed, that are just, oh, yes, you're really important until you don't have that money anymore to just throw away on nothing. There's so many things that happen in the spaces that we sit in that I don't believe in, that I am very much against. I really, truly want to see people succeed. And I know you do too, Linda. And I know everybody here is nodding because we all know in our industries and sectors all the things that are absolutely nonsense that get sold to people. And sure, it makes that person successful. But how does it actually deliver success to the person who's paying that? So I'm very conscientious about being authentic, about being real. I am a real person and I am working through challenges every minute of the day. If you're scaling your business, it should not be a surprise. I know it is not a surprise if you're scaling a business or you've been part of an executive team scaling a business. Cash flow is always a challenge. You can have every contract perfectly buttoned up and still things will go wrong that are a challenge in your business. People who tell you, I'll make you $1 million speaker, by this year, they don't know who you are. It's just a thrown out promise to make you part with money. Nonsense. I could go on and on, right? We all know, all of us could. We could put 10 examples of complete nonsense in our own industries and sectors. And that doesn't even include, the systemic bias of, a woman walking in the room versus a man walking in the room. And I know we could go on from there in terms of all of the other challenges we all face in terms of our different abilities, our diversity, etc. So, for me, it's showing up real and it's really identifying with people who want to have that kind of impact as well. And I think joining together in terms of our community, that starts to make a really significant difference. And that's why the trusted, which comes back to the brand promise, right? We want to accelerate success for every great values-based business leader. And the most trusted network, we're constantly vetting what's real, what's not real, how do we help people get to where they're going faster? And that goes all the way around. I mean, I'm learning every day. I know my business partner, our chairman and founder, Jeffrey Hazley, he's learning every day. We all are. Like, if you're not learning every day, if you think you know it all, you're already done. Like,
Yeah,
I don't
so
know what to
true,
say about
Trish.
that. Yeah. Yeah.
I love that. Thank you so much. And yeah, my experience of you is you are very authentic and you're very genuine. And you are the one of the very few people in my life, you and Zandra too, where I can actually come and say, I've hit a challenge, a roadblock, or I have a choice and I'm not sure which path is better to go down. And I know for sure, Trish, that you will give me unvarnished, unfiltered, advice and guidance based on your own expertise and based on your own experience. And I get that same sort of incredibly valuable counsel from Zandra, who also is on this call. And it is so important to have a community of people around you that will tell you the truth, even if that truth is about your reputation, your brand, your personal brand, your professional brand. And as you said, managing both your personal brand and your professional brand can be challenging. And I think often as business owners, business founders, executives, we tend to discount our personal brand. We tend to distance ourselves from a personal brand in an effort to really build the professional brand. But I got to tell you, your business brand involves strategically aligning your individual identity with the image of your company. Not that they have to be inextricably linked, but some of the core values and principles that you exude as a professional also need to be exemplified in the company that you're leading. So you have to ensure consistency across platforms while highlighting your unique expertise as well as the value that your business provides. And that can be a tricky balancing act. So, Trish, how do you do that? How do you create that balancing act between building your personal reputation, your personal brand, and your own personal image with ensuring that that is consistent and in service to C-Suite Network, your company? How do you do that as the CEO of C-Suite Network and as a leader?
I really need to align it with what I'm trying to deliver. That's my key to making things happen. So if, and this is the way that my head works, if it was just for me, not going to happen. I am so purpose driven. I've got a lot to do to deliver the brand promise. There's just no question. Having said that, there is value in the personal brand with the company, right? With C-Suite Network, with this incredible community. So I have to think about it from the perspective of how do I deliver that success in a way that is meaningful and also in integrity with what we're supporting across the platform. So one specific example, and I have to get this out. I don't believe in balance. We talk about, I just don't believe in balance. And I even had this debate with, no joke, a shaman and a yogi in the redwood forest. So you can
You and I
imagine.
were both at that same retreat.
Yes. So I had this debate, literally walking through the woods with them. And what an incredible retreat that was. But I get the homeostasis thing and so on. But so I respect that very much. Having said that, in business, the idea of balance, I think, is shared by people who've never built a business, who've never had that executive level responsibility and challenge. I think it's really truly much more about how we use time intelligently. One unit of time has to be multiples of value and impact and service delivered. So one example, if you've been to a Friday night where I've had on a special guest, I always say special because everybody's special to me and I love everybody. The special guest, that is me taking my own medicine. I am, I've got a podcast, C-Suite Success with Tricia Benn. It is entirely a tool. I'm not about fame. You could tell me I have two people listening. You could tell me I have 200,000. You could tell me I had 2 million, whatever. That is not anything that I care about. What I care about is I'm in conversations with people that are doing extraordinary things all over the world. I want to bring them to C-suite. I want to introduce them to you. If I have a closed room meeting and you don't get to meet them, then what value does that have for everybody? So I can bring them out with the promise of a podcast interview so that everybody gets to meet them. And almost all of them will lead a breakout room after they've done the little interview with me. Regardless, everybody can ask a question and interact and so on, and learn something new from somebody who has absolute excellence in, all these different areas. It is also then, thanks to Kara and Rebecca, it's fully produced and then delivered across the C-suite platform. So now there's all kinds of things that can happen with that. We're promoting for that individual person. That individual person is promoting C-suite network and all the great things that we have and people we have in our community. The SEO strength goes up. We're very proud of being in the top percent on our domain strength for our website. I would not claim credit for that just with my podcast, but all of us together, my goodness, we're at over 70 million downloads just on podcast content. We have millions of pieces of content on our website. So all these things add up. And as I said, I'm using that content. That content is also then broken up. It's used as snippets for social media and so on. So that 1 unit of time, which I've promised my Friday evenings. I'm now using it to support everybody in terms of the value of that 1 unit of time in so many different ways that serves the purpose of how I'm using my personal brand to benefit everybody I'm promised to see succeed. And so that is the quintessential example. I'm constantly thinking to that. What is this 1 unit of time? How can I multiply that and create more value? And that's why the community build is so important. There's so many different things. When we talk about community, content, and commerce, that's how we're tying those things together. Again, 1 unit of time, three major pillars that all of us need to succeed. I could go on forever, Linda, but those are those are the things I'm thinking about constantly
And I
as we're.
love that. I love thinking about a unit of time and how you can use the multiplier effect to build your personal brand, to build your corporate brand, but to also to impact the audience that you're trying to serve. And I think that's brilliant. I mean, just really, really smart. And I think that's a actionable insight that everyone can apply to their own business too. And as we've been talking about, a personal brand is really a package of character traits. It's a package of characteristics that make you essentially who you are. And it's expressed in a way that others can understand right away. And for you, Trish, I'd say that's service. You absolutely exude this idea of being of service to other people. And it's what you project to the world as the most accurate view of who you are and what you stand for and the value that you bring that other people will then experience as your personal brand. And that is what will create your reputation, right? It's about believing in the very best version of yourself and then articulating that to those who matter. And I think you've done that such a beautiful way. And the good news is that C-Suite Network is very much aligned with who you are as a leader too. Managing both a personal brand and a business brand does involve strategically aligning your individual identity with the image of your company and then ensuring consistency across platforms. So, Tricia, what are some of the top 3 suggestions that you would offer the audience with us today to highlight their expertise as a leader and then balance their company brand with their personal brand?
I think in today's environment, we've been very clear in our messaging. Everybody has to be a media company. And that's because of that, just contraction of time. We don't have time to do all the things that we did before. And if you think about it, it is the most precious commodity there is. You cannot, no matter how much money you have, buy back time, right? We all know that. But practically speaking, the environment we're in now, everything is moving at the speed of light, maybe faster now that we have AI in everything we do. So for me, it's really about you have your principles and your values in terms of who you are, how you operate, what you're going to do. You've got, and also, by the way, how you will treat your people. For me, it's always people first. Otherwise, why are you doing what you're doing? And you could be fabulously successful alone. Meh, I don't know. That we know a lot of that kind of success. It's soul wrecking, right? It's soul wrecking. Real success is seeing people succeed with you. Your success means success for others. That's a basic definition of what real success is. We can go into a whole we can go into a whole conversation on success, but that's critical. The other thing is being very intentional about your brand. So one thing that's really important, everybody, you have a brand. You have a brand promise. Every single person here does. What is that brand promise? And being very clear about what that is and what the value of it is and what the impact is that you're going to be delivering against or the pain point you're solving for. But there's also the strategic piece of where your brand sits. And this is again why we've created the opportunity with C-Suite Network, with our C-Suite Marketing Cloud, to create your own identity there with your IP owned by you, separate from the company. And this is something that we work with our CEOs very closely on, because if you want to ever sell your brand, ideally the company's not, like you want that brand to be able to move forward with somebody else, but you want for sure to have your own personal brand owned by you. So I have a CEO that I've worked with for a little while who had to turn down the best acquisition opportunity because they wanted every piece of his personal IP and brand. It was all inside the company. So there's some very strategic things to be thinking about in terms of your brand. You're lending it to your company, even if it's your own. So being very mindful to that. And then, as I said, I think that how you make one unit of time mean many units of impact and delivery. And those are the three key things. And if you're an executive scaling through an organization, small, mid, enterprise, and if you're an owner, there's this is absolutely critical. It will make you really stand out in an organization as an executive. As an owner, you've got to, or you don't have a business anymore. But staying close to the financials. How is everything you're doing right, your brand promise and it being delivered and having that success for the people you serve? How is that delivering on the financials so you have the sustainability in your model to keep delivering that success and the growth of your organization? Very,
Oh,
very critical.
yeah, so smart. I love that, Trish. Now, where I do want to leave some time for questions, but I have one more area for you to offer your insight around, and then we'll open it up for questions. So ladies, get all your questions ready. If you want to have a discussion with Tricia Benn, now is your opportunity. So as we know, Trish, you said it earlier, we are all lifetime learners. We are all evolving and growing as professionals, as people, as leaders. And so that brand that we represent also evolves, right? So how can we begin developing an intentional and purposeful evolution of your brand over time? So how can you evolve your personal brand to better reflect who you are today versus who you were 5 years ago or 10 years ago, perhaps when you began developing that brand? How do you begin to really examine what you stand for now and what you are aspiring to become and begin to evolve your brand in a new direction?
Love that question, Linda. It just makes me feel such joy. You know, the fact is, we are evolving. And the thing I love about it most probably is, we all got handed, my degrees are in sociology and anthropology, so that's a confession before I say this, but we all got handed a sort of blueprint. This is what a good little girl acts like, does, one way or another. They're going to be all different, but regardless, we were all handed some blueprint. And then a young woman, and then maybe in that stage of sort of middle age, and then as we get older. And the thing I love about your question is our personal brand is constantly evolving. And if we allow ourselves the space, the lack of judgment of ourselves, right? This is, I frequently I'll say, you're not, please, the one rule is no shooting on other people, but even more so, no shooting on on yourself, right? I should do this, all these things that we can do to torture ourselves. So I love that if we, as we age, understand ourselves better. We are evolving because we start to embrace, huh, I'm really great at this. I know this. I can have this impact. You start to build a confidence in what you know of who you are and how that creates value that you can deliver. And so I think it's first starts individually with letting the noise go out of our heads and the acceptance and embracing of the confidence of who we are and what we want to be able to deliver in our lives. And I think also the grace to do that and being in a community where that's supported. I frequently will refer to the kiss the hand of God. You know, if you just did things like this and bought this package from me, you could look like me, talk like me, and have the success I have. You know, I hate that stuff. I don't use the word hate very often. I hate that stuff. No, you know, Kara helped me with this. One of my very favorite quotes is Judy Garland. You know, why be a second rate someone else when you can be a first rate you? And I think being in a community that embraces those things that make you weird and wonderful and recognizes the whatever it is you do at excellence to deliver real success for those you serve, those you work with, those you take on as clients or partners or however your model works. I think that's really the starting point. And then that community, so it's your own noise, your community, and then it's the vehicles to be able to deliver that and understand that. And Linda, you and I've had these conversations as executive women in and you could say any age group, but let's just say ours because it makes it easy. There are challenges. You know, you work with somebody and they think they've got you, and the next thing you know, you come out with pink bows and pink and whatever, and it's like, wait a second. I've been an executive at three enterprise-sized organizations, Canada, the US, the UK. Pink bows is not going to work for me. You know, like totally respect that it might be on brand for somebody else for lots of other things, definitely not my brand. Or you come out sounding like, you know, you only, and this is so weird for, I think, for us as women leaders, you talk about financials. Well, you're a hard line. All you care about is financials. If if you talk about your people, all you want to sit around holding hands and singing Kumbaya. Wait a second. You know, so having those partners and tools that will help you capture who you are, what you are as you're evolving your personal brand and what you deliver. Those are the three pieces in the way that I think of it, because that's a journey. We don't know ourselves when we're born. We know ourselves as we are working through the things that we are passionate about, the things that we want to be able to deliver, and the things that we create value with in community in terms of how we're seeing impact together.